Hey, Joe.
Hey, Kelly. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Welcome back, everyone, to another amazing episode of Searching for Service.
Sorry, I biffed it. Let's start over.
Oh.
See everybody
gonna
out
get-
there in Facebook land. It ain't all sunshine and rainbows.
It all goes right the way we want it to the first time.
And it's usually us that screws it up. So
Yeah.
this feels good for a change. It's nice to know you're human in there.
Well, some might say otherwise. All right, let's do this.
Hey, Joe.
Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Fantastic. How
Good.
are you?
Excellent. Excited for this show.
Very excited. Welcome back, everyone, to the greatest Rotary podcast, Searching for Service. We have yet again another amazing guest, and we're excited to dive into everything about Kyle Haugen.
Got it.
Welcome, Kyle.
Welcome.
Hi, Kyle.
We're
How
happy
are
to
ya?
have you.
I'm happy
I'm
to be
very
here.
excited because, you know, our call on Wednesday, there's so much information to go over.
And even
There's a little bit.
even the brief amount that we talked, he's like, "How much time do you got?"
Mhm.
I may
We
have,
have 11
I
minutes
may have
segments.
offered Kelly to be the, the pregnancy replacement here.
Yeah.
Not for the pregnancy, but when she's
Mhm.
out with.
I'm sure she'd take the
Child.
pregnancy.
I don't want to do that. No.
But needless to say, we have a lot of interesting stuff to cover.
Sure.
But as you know, we always like to start off with getting to know our guests. And so let's start off with, who's Kyle Haugen? Where are you from? What's your life about?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Originally from Prior Lake, Minnesota. If those that aren't in the Twin Cities know that that's a suburb of about 20 minutes from where we're recording this. Grew up there, went off to college, majored in political science, wanted to be an attorney and a politician because I wanted to change the world. Instead, decided that I didn't want to go to school anymore halfway through college. So law school went out the window and went back and joined my father in business in the insurance and financial services industry.
Okay.
And so have been doing that since 2000. And in the, 2003, joined our Rotary Club in Prior Lake. My dad was a longtime Rotarian, so I always knew kind of what it was about, but was working on a city council campaign, and a couple of the other guys said, "Hey, you should come to our meeting." And so I said, "Okay." And I showed up on Wednesday morning without telling my father that I was going to be there, and I got a, "What the bleep are you doing here?" Which I still affectionately love telling that story. But there started the Rotary journey. It'll be 20 years this fall.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thanks. And then have had a plethora of roles throughout Rotary over the years. But I going back to that, wanting to change the world part, I got more disenfranchised with party politics around 2008, 2009, when I happened to go to President-elect training the first time. And I came back and told my my ex-girlfriend, I said, "I think I just found something that allows me to affect change on the world, and I don't have to deal with all the political
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
is a good way of saying it. Yeah.
That's
That's
the politically correct way to say
yes,
it.
yes. Well, I mean, I don't want to swear today. So.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. I figured you guys would
Patrick
like
wants
that.
to keep his finger off the bleep.
Yeah, let's not have the explicit rating. I'm the first Rotary podcast ever that had the E next to it in a podcast.
Yeah.
So I'll try to stay away from that.
Explicit.
But yeah, so
Venture if
since
you
then,
dare.
it's just been one adventure after another, and to the point where I can't think of my life without Rotary in it, and it's helped me grow and
That's how we
all
feel
that.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you think of the favorite service project that you've done? I mean, this show is really geared around helping people find service, whether you're a Rotarian or not. And it always is a great question for our guests to answer is like, what's your favorite service project? And it could have been with Rotary, it could have been outside of Rotary, but
I think the couple that come to mind as the most impactful, at least for me, was certain. One was certainly when in January of 2019, when my wife and I went to India for a polio immunization day, and
Mhm.
being actually there, able to give immunizations to kids, and when at the time, I mean, I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, so we take advantage or take for granted all those things
Yeah.
Yeah.
that comes along with modern medicine, but yet here they're letting me put drops in a baby's mouth. I mean, that was pretty significant. And and on that trip as well, just being able to see a lot of the different projects that the Rotary clubs in India had put in place that really affected people's lives. I mean, that was significant. And then later that year, ended up in Africa, in Uganda, at Naka Valley Refugee Settlement, which I think we'll talk about with
Yeah,
with
we
the water
certainly
projects
will.
that our club has been helping to sponsor. But the ongoing relationship that's come out of that trip, and having refugees in the middle of Central Africa that I call friends, and that just knowing that I'm helping them as much as possible. Those are two off the top of my head that I think are decent.
Well,
Um,
and I love it too because the Prior Lake Club does one of the best fundraisers,
Yeah.
I think, in Rotary. Period. If you want to talk briefly about the music festival,
yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, our Prior Lake Rotary's Lakefront Music Fest, and it's been a great, not only fundraising event where raise well into 6, if not 7 figures annually, but it's also a community event
Mhm.
that the entire community. I mean, it's really the South Metro Twin Cities area comes together. 17,000-18,000 people in the park each night to have a great time together, and to be able to see since the beginning of that, um, what that's meant for our club in terms of the growth of the club, both membership wise, giving to the Rotary, excuse me, giving to the Rotary Foundation wise. It's made our members better Rotarians as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, the more that we've done from a service perspective
Mm.
there, I've seen a lot of clubs that, they're fundraising clubs, and that's all they focus on is the fundraiser, and they forget about why they're doing that fundraising. So
That's
yeah,
a
that's
great
probably
differentiation.
it's
Yeah.
probably I've spoken to a number of clubs and districts around the United States about fundraising. So that's the key differentiator. I think that is something to be proud of, that you can do more with.
Well, and I think the thing that makes it the most successful is like our club goes and volunteers,
Mhm.
other clubs goes and volunteers, manpower to help, with whatever
Yeah.
various things. So you incorporate other clubs, and then you also give them funds
Right.
based on how much you contributed, which was
Yeah.
really great. Like, so then it's kind of a double dip in the sense that it's helping you guys raise funds, but then, each club that participates also is raising funds. So it's a huge, really great thing. Last year we were supposed to do it. We got COVID.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. excuses. And yeah.
I figured that would probably
Stay
be a
away from
bad
the
location.
masses.
It's a fair
Right.
excuse. If we can not have any COVID or appendicitis or anything like that. But you're right. And one of we had 29 volunteer groups that, in some capacity, donated hours to serve as volunteers to the event. And so depending on what your job is at the festival and how much or what time frame it is too, we're going to make a donation back to that organization. And that doesn't even count as part of the overall
Yeah.
profit of the event. But, we have a meeting every September typically where we'll invite in all those other organizations and recognize them with their contribution. But more importantly, ask them, what are you doing with these funds? And
Mhm.
and the stories that we hear out of that is so cool. Just because the very nature of what they're doing, and with the other Rotary Club involvements, there's 10 different Rotary clubs that are involved. This isn't their only fundraiser. The Edina Morningside Rotary clubs are not weak clubs by any means.
Yeah.
They're strong clubs in their own right, but they're looking at this as a fun way to have their members come together to
Yeah.
just have fun. And by the way, you're getting a little bit of money for it that you can put towards something else. And so that's even, I'm not even sure how many wins that is. I think it's even more than a double win, but
Well, and
it's
I'd even
huge.
say is something that even targets the audience of this show is what a great opportunity to be exposed to Rotary.
Yeah.
Like, so if you wanted to try something, if you wanted to get involved in a project that is a little bit self-serving, right? You get to
Sure.
listen to some great music,
Mhm.
enjoy
maybe drink a beer or
yeah,
two.
enjoy
some
or
libations,
eat,
and,
whatever. You got
but-
to make up for last year.
But if you're ever curious, if you want a single moment to, maybe encounter Rotary, that might be a really great opportunity. And
For sure.
yeah, I know it's a moving target. I don't know when
Yeah.
this year's
July 14th, 15th.
July
is
14th and
this year.
15th.
Yep.
Great.
We have Leonard Skinnard and REO Speedwagon for Rock Night, and Tyler Hubbard and Darius Rucker for Country Night. So it'll be
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, that'll
this year,
be
yeah.
fine.
And
Yeah.
and going to that, too, you have the when I speak on fundraising, I mean, do something that engages the community and engages your membership. Well,
Yeah.
that's the type of thing that we've had people come to our club and say, we've volunteered for years. Now it's time for us to do something in the community. You're the club we want to be a part of.
I love it.
Cool. Well, we're gonna wrap out of this section and roll into the next one here in just a moment. And so thank you.
You're
We're
welcome.
excited for this next section to dive into some of your roles
Sure.
too. So
Always nice to learn a little bit about you.
thank you so much for tuning in to Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
And I'm Joseph Kirk. We'll see you in the next segment.
Hello, and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and 5960. I'm Kelly Kirk.
And I'm Joseph Kirk.
And with us, we have Kyle Haugen, who is going to share with us some of the major roles that he plays. And so, first one is Region 36 Rotary Public Image Coordinator.
Yes.
You are an insurance agent. You also head not one, but multiple water projects.
It's all kind of the same one. It's just a matter of we separated it for sake of ease, and
Yeah.
it didn't make it any easier.
Well, and something to just share real quick with our listeners is that each month Rotary has a theme.
Mhm.
And this month, for the month of March, their theme is water and sanitation. And so that was initially part
Right.
of the reason that we were going to have you on for the show. But found out that there's so much more.
There's a few other things we can talk
So-
about. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about Region 36 Rotary Public Image Coordinator. What exactly does that mean?
Sure. Well, so the Rotary is structured kind of from the bottom up, where the clubs are the most important thing in Rotary, and there's somewhere 40-ish thousand Rotary clubs around the world, and they're divided into districts, which
Yep.
we're in the Twin Cities here. We're District 5950 and 5960.
Mhm.
Above that are these zone levels of things, and then for whatever reason, administratively, they call them regions as well. I still haven't totally figured out why, but essentially,
Hey, we have no idea. So
I'm still trying to figure it out. So our zones have 23 districts that range from 4 or 5 clubs up in Ontario down to the Texas-Mexico border, and we have a director to the International Board of Directors, but then there's also different coordinators for public image, membership, Rotary Foundation, and ending polio. So I'm our regional coordinator for public image, which basically means I get to support and promote and encourage districts and clubs throughout those 23 districts how to think most about public image in Rotary. And
Cool.
it's not just, marketing, it's not public relations, it's not advertising, it's not social media, it's all those things. And it's really what's the image that we have in our communities from people looking at us, along with how do our members view ourselves. It's that
Yeah.
perception. What's the perception that people have of us? What do we have of ourselves? And what do we want to have?
It ties in perfectly to like the whole purpose and foundation of Searching for Service, right?
Mhm.
And so it's kind of fascinating. I mean, ironically, you're on the show for like the purpose of talking about water and sanitation and water projects, but you also have this incredible role too that we've got dual purpose here now.
Sure. Well, and I always tell people, Rotary it's the best and worst thing about Rotary at the same time is that there's something for everybody in Rotary, whether it be one of the 7 areas of focus, water and
Mhm.
sanitation being one of them, or the other 6, or something else, or whatever you want to do. There's a way you can be involved, which
Yeah.
also makes it nearly impossible to succinctly explain
Right.
what we are as Rotarians. And
So
and
true,
and
yeah.
it's so difficult, and I think so many people go back to and it's easy for a lot of Rotarians too to talk about the what and the how rather than the why.
Mhm.
And the why is the important part that's going to actually create an emotional engagement in somebody that makes them want to be a part of us, either through time, energy, talents, money, things like that.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people start their elevator speech with, Rotary, or when somebody goes, what's Rotary? Well, we are 1.4 million people and they've already stopped paying attention to you.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's, Rotary is a great organization to change our communities in the world. Because that's what we're doing.
I
Exactly.
know,
And
for
that's-
sure.
do you know
And
what's
then
really
somebody
funny
says, well, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And you can elaborate.
when I talk to potential members and,
Mhm.
and new people, the first thing I say to them, Rotary changed my life.
Sure.
Because
Mhm.
it's true. Like, I mean, this isn't a pitch thing. It's like Rotary changed my life. And it's because I was looking for stability. I was looking for all of these things, right? Like I was looking for leadership, mentorship. I was looking for service, all of these things. And I'm like, if you want your life changed, join Rotary and figure out how, like, it'll present itself
Oh,
to you
absolutely.
because there's everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a really great resident point where instead of coming from the other direction of
Sure.
like, hey, we've got 1 trillion members and we
Nobody
raise all
cares.
this money
Yeah.
and ooh, awesome. Nobody cares. Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
I had I was doing leading a webinar a year and a half ago. And one of the examples we wanted to bring into the webinar was something where the Rotary Foundation and membership and public image kind of all aligned together. And guy was telling a story, which he went for 20 minutes, was supposed to go for 5 minutes, but he talked about how they did this project and what they did and what the lead up and the preparation and all this stuff was. Never got to why he was doing the project, and I knew the reason why,
Yeah.
which was a hugely emotional thing
Mhm.
that would have captivated everybody. Rather, they didn't
And
get
talking
there.
about the how.
And nobody cared
Yeah.
about that. And that's, that is, you're right. I've mentioned a lot, in Rotary, it's a great way to meet people you wouldn't meet otherwise,
Mhm.
to learn skills and develop professionally and personally. That's fun. And oh yeah, by the way, we're helping change the world too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's that ulterior motive of goodness too.
How long have you been in that specific role?
So it's a 3-year term.
Okay.
So technically, I think I started July 1st of 2021,
Okay.
and I'd been an assistant before that. And frankly, in the lead up, I was already acting as it.
I should have known that
yeah,
it's a
that-
term.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes,
Everything's
yes,
a term.
yes.
Yeah.
So, there are days that I can't even remember when it actually ends because it's only been a year and a half, but it feels
Yeah.
like it's been about 4 years.
Wow.
So, but it's been really cool and met a lot of people and tried to help people understand why the perception of us is important.
Well, yeah, I think
Completely.
that's a perfect lead into my question. I'm going to put you on the spot. I mean, I wouldn't be doing my job
Bring
if I
it.
didn't. Is, you know, what does Rotary need to hear in terms of this is what's happening? These are our like the people that are on the show. And first of all, this show is a perfect reflection of how we've pivoted
Mhm.
into finding our new members, because our new members aren't looking for the same things as our long-term
Existing,
existing
yeah.
members.
Sure.
So what would you say is the number one thing that all Rotarians need to understand to grow clubs, to grow the membership, to grow the family? So what is your feeling on the number one thing that really sticks out to you?
Fun.
Fun.
Ooh.
We don't do things that we don't enjoy doing.
Yeah.
You know, there has to be that fun. And if we're not having fun with something, we're not going to go. That's why people sometimes don't go to a Rotary meeting, because they don't think it's fun.
Yeah.
If they're not engaged in whatever it is, they're not going to do it. And it starts with fun. And it doesn't mean like
There's no structure.
it's goofy
Right,
or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
It means have fun in what you're doing. One of our members summed it up really well a number of years ago, to the point it's part of our club's motto now. But we were talking to him about doing something. Bill Schultz is his name, and he said, "I see Rotary as serious fun." And he says, "But it's not just that. Doesn't just mean a lot of fun, because we're doing serious stuff."
Yeah.
We're having fun doing it.
But the results of what we're doing and the interactions with other people, we're having fun while we're doing it, which
Mhm.
makes it even more fun than it would be because of that benefit. And so now our motto is Prior Lake Rotary, doing good, serious fun. And it's and I see, as I go around and either talk to people or see clubs, the clubs that are thriving, it's because their members are getting enjoyment and value out of it.
I was just going to say fulfillment is
Mhm.
like kind of the
Yep.
main foundation with all of that. So,
Well, I remember when we started this show, I'm like, it's got to be fun. It's
Yeah.
got to be fun, because I'm not going to want to show up if it's not fun. And then
Well,
we're just presenting
I
information.
mean,
Our-
look,
our-
yeah,
I mean,
our-
this is what we deviated
Right.
away from, right?
And like I've told both of you, you know, I've listened to most of your episodes, and it's better than a lot of other Rotary podcasts. Not only because you know actually what you're talking about, and or it's vague enough where you just kind of go.
We ask the right questions.
We ask the right
but
questions.
you're having fun with it too, and,
Yeah.
and it's obvious that you guys enjoy doing it,
Mhm.
and that the guests are enjoying it, which makes it more enjoyable to listen to as well.
Mhm.
And those are
Good
all those
feedback.
key things.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah,
and I
you're
think
welcome.
we might have stumbled onto something too that's an extension of fun in Rotary. Is there's got to be curiosity, because we're curious. Like that's
Yeah.
the one thing that
Yeah.
that we are.
Sure.
Is we're curious and we have fun being curious. So, you know, in Rotary, it can be easy to get kind of stuck into the same mechanism and the same thing over and over again, but to be continuously curious about new things, new people, new organizations, new ways to
Mhm.
serve.
And I would add to that, not only being curious, but trying to grow.
Yes.
How can we do it better?
Yeah.
You know,
Love it.
Yeah.
We could have
Speaking-
spent an entire
Speaking
podcast
of curious,
on
we'll
it.
get
We'll be
curious.
back
Yeah, in the
during-
next section. So, you're listening to Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
And I'm Joseph Kirk. What be a pirate's favorite fast food restaurant?
Well, Arby's.
What?
One would think so. It's actually Long John Silver's.
Well, it could be both. Whatever.
Welcome back to Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
And I'm Joseph Kirk.
As a reminder, you can find us on your favorite podcast platforms, and
We love those 5 gold stars. 5-star reviews, please.
yeah,
Hey, you've
Except
listened.
for this week.
I was-
Except for this week.
Yeah. Well, I was going to
Yeah.
say, I'm like, are you leaving 5-star reviews?
You
on
know what?
that?
My
At least
podcast-
do it on this episode,
My
right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm gonna, maybe I'll
I think
promote
it's in
this
general
one.
for the show, not
You
for
had the greatest
specific
guest
shows.
ever.
This guy,
In comments.
mediocre at best. Everyone else, great.
We ended that last section talking about how it's important to be curious, right? And so
Mhm.
let's talk about curiosity with heading these water projects
Sure.
that you have. I want to continue to talk about your public image coordinator position.
Yeah, I'm
really
20
do.
minutes away. We'll come back sometime and deal with that
Perfect.
stuff too. But
Perfect.
District Governor Dale will be upset if we don't talk about what I was
I know.
actually
I
asked to talk
know.
about. So yeah.
Yeah. So
Water.
um,
We're doing projects.
Talk about water.
Yeah.
Yes.
you did
water good.
you had the share with like how that came to fruition in your life,
Mm-hmm.
right? But what are you continuing to do with it? Or maybe we give a little recap first.
Yeah.
and then-
Well, and I think water is so important just anywhere in the world. I mean, there's about 8 seconds every day a child dies of bad water.
yeah.
You know, I mean, you drink dirty water, you end up getting sick, diarrhea,
Mhm.
you get dehydrated. Well, how do you get rehydrated? You drink the
Water.
dirty water again, which, most likely some of the diarrhea is actually in type thing. Not a good cycle.
Yeah.
And I think one of the places that this, I mean, you see it anywhere in the developing world, and frankly, in some parts of the United States too. But when we were in India, and we were in Agra for the polio immunization, the club that sponsored that took us around to a number of different places as well. And maybe this isn't as much water, but it's water, sanitation, hygiene, all
Yeah.
comes together as kind of that wash in Rotary. And they took us to a school that the club had adopted like a year and a half beforehand. And they had, one of the first things they had done is built a bathroom building that had running water out of
Mhm.
it too. And I have a really cool picture of some of the girls, like, turning the water on and big smiles and stuff. But, in the developing world, girls stop going to school when they start menstruating because there's not clean and safe facilities. And so you get that everything that comes with that just as a whole, because now they're not being educated. They can't better help their families,
Mhm.
can't better help the communities and everything. This school, before the bathroom facility had been put in, there was 40 girls at that school. A year and a half later, when we were there were over 400 girls in that school. I mean, that's the power of providing those safe facilities. And it goes along with, I mean, there was a water element of it too. This particular project came out of some involvement I had, some friends of mine here in the Twin Cities that had helped to start the first Rotaract club in a refugee settlement or camp in the world,
Mm.
in Naka Valley Refugee Settlement, which is one of the older official refugee settlements in the world. It was founded in the late 1950s.
Wow.
They in June of 2019, I had gone to Naka Valley just to meet people there, to see what opportunities there were for partnership, things like that. And coming out of that, I had met a young man, Julius. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because it's long, but Julius, he runs a school in Naka Valley, Best Future School, that he's trying to help people. And I mean, he is a refugee. I mean, that was one of the heartbreaking things there, hearing the stories of, these guys that I now consider my friends, that, I mean, their stories had fairly common denominators, and it was, I was going to be killed if I didn't leave my home.
Jeez.
That's the choice. And it's, these aren't bad people. It's just bad situation that they got put into. Julius started tagging me on Facebook a lot and, promoting what they were doing. And another member of our club, Rick Olson, got curious about what Julius was doing. So he went to Naka Valley as well, and struck up more of a relationship with Julius and figuring out ways to better support the school and as a part the surrounding community. And so we started talking about these water projects. And so we have two grants going on. The first one is a little bit smaller of a project, but it's basically building latrines, water collection systems, and hand washing stations in at Best Future School. So there are
Okay.
better toilet facilities. There's enhanced levels of, hey, here's why it's important to wash your hands, and water collection system from the roof so they can do that. The second part of the project is going to not only tap into some of the main piping that is going on throughout the camp and run water to Best Future School. It will also have a water filtration component to it. So it's going to be safe
Incredible.
water.
Yeah.
And there will be we're going to install a big cistern, like 100, I don't remember 100,000 liter cistern. That seems big. Maybe that. Don't remember exactly how big it is, but basically to hold more water as well. So they're going to be able to have more water and cleaner water.
So the
Beautiful.
interesting thing about this project is because the settlement's so old, that there's a bit more infrastructure, it sounds like, where you're kind of tying into more existing infrastructure,
I mean,
enhancing it.
Kind of. I mean, it's not very good infrastructure. And I mean, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees is what oversees all of
Right.
the different refugee settlements in the world. And they contract with other organizations to provide water, security, food, education in different camps.
But the
So-
scope of the project's different than, say, like rural Africa, where you're putting in a well and
Somewhat.
hoping
Yeah,
it stays in operation.
Yeah. I mean, it is somewhat
This is a little
there.
bit more systematic.
It is and it isn't, just because you have a more transient population and nobody really cares about the refugees, unfortunately.
Oh,
And so, I mean,
That
that's part of that
Devastating.
issue as well, that, they don't have anybody to speak up for themselves. So, while there is piped water, it doesn't get everywhere, especially as the camp grows. So there needs to be increased amount of water, and it certainly needs to be clean. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of the same issues you have there in terms of people walking mile upon mile to get to a water spot, you're going to have outside of the camp as well. It's just
fascinating.
a lot of scarcity.
It really is.
Hmm.
So like it really sounds like there's a lot of challenges with the transient nature of the settlement.
To a degree, yeah. I mean, and I mean, and when I say transient, I mean it's people coming and going, mostly coming. I mean,
Right.
because the other governments of the world aren't letting in a whole lot of refugees every year, so the amount of displaced people is growing rapidly. I mean, there's estimates now, I think, after the Ukraine war and all of the people that had to
Sure.
flee there, the amount of displaced people around the world is over 100 million.
Wow.
And so those are people that are fleeing violence, persecution, environmental, resource loss. It's going to be a huge problem going forward, because the world ain't getting more peaceful, and it's not getting more environmentally friendly in some of those areas.
Yeah.
So there's a downer.
I know. I'm like, oh man.
So you got that going for you,
Uh-huh,
which is nice.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So what's the goal for this project? I mean, I think there's some
Yeah.
pretty really great things about it. What's the
Mhm.
goal? We're kind of doom and gloom on the front end of this,
Right.
but realistically, we are helping people.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I mean, people will live because of this project, plain and simple.
Yeah.
People will have better lives because of this project. They'll be able to have better access to water, which means they don't have to walk miles upon miles, which means they have more time in their day to go to school, to work, to build a family, to not get raped, because typically it's the daughters that are
Mhm.
walking miles every day to go
Yeah.
get water. So it's not just safe water, it's a better community as a whole there. And it also is going to be a way to, there's some other parts of the projects in terms of some improvements at Best Future School that will help raise the level of education and what they can do for the community as well. So they're going to be able to provide for more people too. And it's not just like primary school, but it's
Yeah.
vocational learning and everything. It's really a
And
learning center.
and the equity of learning between men and women. I mean,
Mm.
just it's from that sanitation, like being able to have
Oh,
clean
absolutely.
water and stuff. And it completely changed the dynamic of how you can educate.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable how it's all tied
Absolutely.
together.
And that equity piece of things, throughout the world, there's a lot of different ways that can be addressed, and Rotary provides those solutions.
That's awesome.
We're going to piggyback off of this and talk more about that into the next section. Thank you so much for tuning into Searching for Service. We'll be back here in a moment. I'm Kelly Kirk.
And I'm Joseph Kirk. Excited to see you.
Welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and 5960. I'm Kelly Kirk.
And I'm Joseph Kirk.
What you got? Anything?
Maybe my foot's
Nothing.
asleep, if that does anything.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how much I could get for a child. I might be raffling one off here soon. Hey, do you think that will raise some money for Rotary?
Probably.
We can hear him in the background. I'm not sure how much it's gonna get.
Oh, man.
You know what though? The other side of them is great.
Yes.
They're
for all,
wonderful.
For all those that are listening and wondering what the heck we're talking about is, we've got a no school day. Kids are with us in the recording studio. It's amazing. Most of the time that they keep to themselves, but
Today's just a different day.
just a-
There's something
just a
in
different
the air.
day, and we're adapting and
Full
overcoming.
moon.
They're excited to hear about refugees in Africa.
They are,
That's what it is.
they love the
Yes.
show. You know what? They just filled out their 5-star review on
Perfect.
on their favorite podcast.
Perfect.
Great.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's good.
We're going to talk about goals, more goals, right?
Sure.
We really love to end
Vision.
Yeah.
We really love to
Vision.
end the show with talking about aspirations, goals, and the vision that you see. And now we got twofold, right? Like, what's your vision as like your
Public
Rotary
image.
public image coordinator, but then also the projects overseas too.
Sure.
Let's start with the projects,
Yeah.
like the water projects and things like that, and we
Yeah.
can end on the public image, just in
Well-
case we run a little bit long.
Well, for those of those that know about those projects at all, my main goal after 2.5 years of working on them is getting them done
Yeah,
at this point, because
Mhm.
they've taken a long time because of a number of reasons. But it's that Joe, you brought up the curiosity thing earlier, and we kind of talked about how you can always build and what's next. It's already what's next there. I mean, how can we provide better lives for the people there? So it's not, I mean, ideally, I would love to say we can create a space that those refugees can, right now, they have to call Naka Valley home because they can't go back to their home. And they're not really allowed to go be a citizen somewhere else. Yes, in Uganda, and Uganda is very friendly to refugees, so they can come and go. They're not stuck in a camp. That's why they call it a settlement there. But I would love to somehow figure out a way that rather than them having to call Naka Valley home, that they choose to call Naka Valley home because of having enough infrastructure, resources, support, essentially peace. I like to use, when we're talking about everything in Rotary, it all leads towards peace. And people go, well, but peace is the absence of war and violence, which that's one definition. But positive peace is the fulfillment of all needs to create a fair and just society. I would love to create that in Naka Valley where people aren't necessarily going there just to flee something, but then they can start to build their lives so that they can do more. I mean, it's not like I said, it's not a matter of they chose this. I mean, they had the ultimate choice to make.
Yeah.
Stay in your home. And these are educated people. They're smart. They won the birth lottery, or they lost the birth lottery and got born into a place where they had to choose, do I stay and probably die, or do I leave everything behind? And it's not
And
just in
start
Africa, it's in,
Yeah.
parts of Asia, it's in Ukraine, it's in Central and South America. This is we fear for our lives, we got to go. And
makes you grateful for what you got every day.
I was just gonna say, I mean, it's true perspective. It really is.
And that's my first international trip was actually to Haiti in 2010 after the earthquake. And since then, when stuff isn't going quite right, I sit back, and if it's my dad at work or my wife at home, or haven't really gotten the kids into this yet since they're only 5 and 7, but I'll just look at somebody and go, well, could be worse. I could live in Haiti.
Totally.
And so, yeah, it is grateful, but I feel it's incumbent upon us then to take what we've been able to get just because we got lucky in that birth lottery and help people that didn't get so lucky. And so that's, trying to make places like Naka Valley and other refugee camp settlements throughout the world better places, because these are people that have had a lot of trauma, and let's give them the life they deserve. So that's that part of things.
That's a good way to button that up, though. I mean,
is.
Sure, yeah, I'm actually kind of impressed with myself thinking about that one on the fly.
That's great.
Don't hurt your back.
I think I got some more work to do to get there, but no, we are going back. A couple other Rotarians and I are going back to Naka Valley this June for World Refugee Day, and that'll be I'm very much looking forward to seeing the progress of these projects along with some other things and identifying what else we can do.
So you do obviously quite a bit of traveling and travel for the water projects, but there's travel that you've obviously been doing for your public image role as well. And so let's talk about some of the aspirations and vision that you see for that specific role and
for Rotary. Changing its image problem.
Well, and I think and one of the key things that I think needs to happen is we hear from Rotary a lot. Well, I'm going to step back.
Not too far. You got 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Cool. I can get this done. I spoke about this in like 17 different groups in the last couple of weeks. But, our product as an organization is the lives we change.
Yep.
Right. Obviously, like anything, in order to maximize the amount of lives we can change, it's the more people involved and the more money we have. That's why we hear from Rotary all the time how important having more members is, because then we have more people to do things.
Mhm.
And Rotary Foundation, that's more money. The more money we have, the more we can put towards projects. Well, the glue that actually gets people to want to give of their time, energy, money is that energetic feeling of either feeling a part of something or wanting to belong to something. And that comes back to the perception of the organization. That's where public image has to come into play. And so in my role, I keep trying to elevate the importance of public image in the minds of people because we don't think about it. It's an afterthought. We think it's just, well, our public image will enhance it if we just get the youngest person in the club to post a couple more times on Facebook. I mean, that's a little bit, but that's not the whole thing. I mean, how do we make our own members feel engaged? How do we make the public want to feel engaged? And that's a big boulder to push up the hill. And I'm going to keep trying to do it because, Joe, like you said, Rotary's changed your life. Certainly, I don't know where I'd be without Rotary. Every now and again, when I get disenfranchised and go, maybe I just take a step back and I just go, but what would I do with my time and how would I fill the fulfillment that I have?
And you end up taking 3 steps forward.
And then I do a little bit more. Yeah. But it's one of those things that how can we really energize our club members to realize that they're part of something significant in this organization, whether it being polio or water projects in Africa or a literacy project in, here at Eden Prairie or whatever it is. How can we best make a difference and get people proud of that so they want to stay and other people want to join us?
And I with the last little bit of our time, something that just kind of came to my mind that I would love your thoughts on is just like any other membership club, it's the 20% that drive the other 80%. Now we can disagree about this, but it's having that 20% of the membership driving in the same direction so that the 80% feel comfortable and feel included, feel like they're leading in the right direction. So it really seems like, yes, I'm with you that more is more, but I also think that the 20% that are sitting there that maybe we're serving at a higher level at some point and aren't now, and we all have a responsibility, if we all know that we're one of those people that are called and compelled to serve, is to do that, because then we lead another 10 people behind us that are looking to us to help.
And that's the key, because I don't think in clubs that are complacent, it's the 80-20.
Yep.
In good clubs, there are a lot more people that are engaged in some capacity, and they don't all have to be at the the Haugen Kirk level of things. We're gonna trademark that.
Love it.
But maybe Gump in there too.
I feel like we can't get away with
but in a healthy club, it's gonna be more than 20% of people doing the work.
Yeah.
Our music fest, the vast majority of our club is involved in some capacity. And that's one of the cool things, because then everybody can even have more pride in it. And I think that's what we need to strive for, is finding that engagement for people so they want to be involved.
I love it. That's so perfect.
Great way to end. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was amazing. Always amazing. The show's amazing.
Show's amazing.
At least 3 stars on this episode, 5 on the others.
Thank you so much for tuning into Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
And I'm Joseph Kirk.
As a reminder, it's time to stop searching
and start serving.